Yeah, what's going on, fam? It's your man VACAY-JTV, and yes, we got another wild one. Let's get into it. This one is called The Measure, and it reads, the highest holds a public trial to find and punish any traitors among the Rakadushi, and River, the new dikahn, struggles to protect Ruth and Joan when his own loyalty is tested. Oh yeah, let's get into it. So where do we leave off? We left off where, yes, River now has the dikahn threads. Now he is wearing it. He is the new dikahn, and he tells the highest it feels good. He's smiling from ear to ear as he is now second in command. Someone is at the door. The new dikahn goes to open up the door. Who is it? It is Obadiah. And he was summoned because the highest is telling Obadiah that there is a rat amongst us. Now, of course, when I heard rat, I'm thinking, okay, they want to find another traitor amongst the Rakadushi. Well, no, he meant a literal rat is running around the campus, and he wants him and the children to go find the rat. Obadiah reminds the highest he's the headmaster over the children. The highest says, I know I made you. So he says yes, and he says another thing, the children are ready to go and take out the FBI. The highest says no, takes out his sword and swings it towards Obadiah to say no, they're not ready to strike another human being. Of course, he says yes. He puts the sword on Obadiah's neck. He's like, no, they are not ready. He says, you're right. Of course, the new dikahn is looking on. Okay, I see what's going on here. Of course, River's observing. And he says, yes, your highest, I will do whatever you ask me or command me to do. All right, so he leaves, and the new dikahn, River, is like, listen, we're not only going to find the rat, but we're also going to find the rats that are in the Rakadushi. I will do my job. I will put on a trial to absolutely find out and sift out all the rats and those people who are not strong enough. Of course, the highest agrees as River goes down to do his thing. And yes, he says that he wants his armor to be hard and to be able to go against the enemy. Now River is finished, the new dikahn. He walks out, cleans himself up, and here comes Ruth. And Ruth is like, oh, what's going on here? I see you have a new outfit. Why are you wearing that outfit? He's like, I'm the new dikahn. I'm the second in command. Are we good? And he's asking her, well, are we good? Because you're like the wife. She says, we're good. He's like, you have power now and all of this and that. So your boy is taking pride and now being second in command. And she's like, okay, well, we're good. Let's use the power to our advantage to help each other. He says, I got you. And she walks away. Of course, we know how schemish River is. He may or may not help Joan. But here comes Peter, dikahn. And River's like, oh, so now you want to talk to me? Before you was trying to kick me out and all of this and that. You know, what's going on now? He said, I'm sorry. I apologize. We had something. I know you feel it and all of this and that. Trying to kiss up to him, right? And River, the new dikahn, says, go and ring the bell. He said, ring the bell? I said, yes, we are going to have a trial. That's what's going to go down. So go ring the bell. He goes to ring the bell. The trial is on. River wastes no time. It's time to go. So they go to the pavilion. Everybody's gathered there. It is time for the trial. We're going to see who is true to the Raku, and the highest is telling everyone we have to find out who is true, who will be able to withstand and stand against the enemy. Here's dikahn sitting right next to Lacey, which is wild, right? Anthony is sitting next to Lacey in a purple robe. We are seeing him for the first time. And yes, Ruth is there as well. And it's time for this trial. This is a wild trial, and River is conducting the trial. Screaming, yelling, it's time to find out and we call to the stage Anthony Wright. That's his full name, Anthony Wright. So that's the old dikahn, Anthony Wright. He brings up dikahn, and yes, he tells Scumbag Manny to strip Anthony of his clothes. Again, another form of humiliation coming from River to Anthony Wright, right? So now it is time, officially time for the trial as we test and see to get people to confess. First up is Anthony Wright. Let's see if he confesses. Meanwhile, outside of the campus, we see a press tent and Mariah, the reporter that approached Desiree, And this is her cameraman, James, and they're talking about how to get inside. It's a no-fly zone from what the FBI says. And he starts talking about a cartoon of an octopus that pretty much shrank whatever he needed and got away. She didn't want to hear it, but then as he is talking, she says, you know what, you're a genius. And she's thinking of a plan and of a way to get inside of the Rakadushi without having to fly over with helicopters or anything like that. So she is just like, she runs away. And James says, what's going on? Where you going? And she's like, I'm going to get my Pulitzer Prize. Mariah is very diligent, and she somehow, some way is going to get inside of the Rakadushi campus. Now, here we are. Anthony Wright is on trial, and your boy River Dikahn is asking him questions. Were you second in command, the commander to the army of the Raku? Yes. And he's like, say yes, Dikahn, right? He's like, yes, Dikahn. He's like, do you confess to letting George and Lewis almost take out the highest? And he says, I confess. And he slaps him because he's like, you will speak when you are spoken to. And he slaps Dikahn, grabs his face. It's crazy how the tables have turned on Anthony now that River is the new Dikahn, and he's telling him to confess and admit that he messed up in front of the highest. He says, now is the time. And here is Desiree talking to Andrew, and she says, now is the time for you to work with us and tell us what's going on, right? And Andrew is like, man, you are crazy. You're out of your mind. She's like, why? She says, you know what? Listen, the highest, he has many ways to unalive everybody. He can take out you and everybody else. You don't even realize it, even with that badge on. And Desiree says, well, I also have the power as well, right? And she calls Kyle to bring him in. And who is that? Who is this? This is Andrew's son. Oh, man, Desiree is playing dirty. Andrew is super surprised. Oh, hey, buddy, what's going on? And his son says, are you a bad man, Dad? I'm like, wow, she is playing dirty. He's like, no. So here we are back on the campus. He's trying to get Dikahn to confess. He says, I confess. And he says, see, Anthony has confessed. He has confessed. He is not worthy. He must be punished. He says, no, I confess. I confess to being bamboozled and tricked by George and Lewis, and I will do anything that it takes and give all my power to you, the highest, to absolve my sins and to do whatever it takes. He's like, no, you must be punished for your sins. You confess to this. And he says, bring in the pleasure chest. And this is a chest where we're going to find out the Raku is going to tell us what is going to be your punishment. So, of course, Manny brings over this chest and he blindfolds Dikahn. And Dikahn is going to reach into this chest to find out what will be his punishment, right? So he reaches down into the chest and he pulls out, looks like a billy club, looks like something that the cops would use. And he picks it up and he gives it to River. And River says, it's the gauntlet of faith, right? He has a whole different name. He has chosen, the Raku has chosen this. Here we are back at the precinct. Your boy Andrew and his son, he's talking to his son. He's like, are you a bad guy? He's like, no, I'm a good guy. I'm always a good guy, right? You remember? And Desiree's like, he was just helping us take down the bad guys. He's talking to Andrew's son. He's like, well, you doing that? I'm doing that. Buddy, you know that. I'm a good guy, right? I'm a good guy. He's trying to convince his son, even though he's sitting there in handcuffs talking to his son. So Kyle's like, listen, let's go get some candy from the candy vending machine while your father helps us out with catching the bad guys. He's taking his son away. And Andrew's like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? He just got here. He's like, you'll have plenty of time after you help us with this board to catch the bad guys. She's like, where's he going? He takes his son out of the room. Desiree and Kyle, they are playing dirty. They know how to pull on Andrew's heartstrings to get him to do what they want him to do. She's like, are you ready? Are you really ready now to help us to take down the highest? And he's like, how about you go F yourself? That's what I'm ready to do. Just go F yourself. Right? Now, back on the campus, we thought that it was just going to be that one little stick that was going to be beating down Anthony. No, they get the whole campus, a couple of people with bats, and they are beating down Anthony. And Rivers, we're beating out the sin in him. And you see that lady? She was smiling. we're beating out the sin. So we're not beating down the man. We're beating out the sin. Keep beating him. And they keep whipping on your boy, Anthony, a.k.a. the old dikahn. He says, stop. You guys are too soft. I'll do it myself. And this boy, River, grabs a golf club and just goes in wailing on Anthony. Man, he's like, get the sin out, get out. And he's beating him real hard, like so hard that the highest comes over and stops River and says, okay, like he stops him. He's beating him down so bad, pulls River off of him and says, yes, brother dikahn is cleansed. So he calls him brother dikahn as Anthony's like, oh, it's so much pain. He's like, brother dikahn is cleansed, right? So now he's calling him brother dikahn. So will Anthony be back at the dikahn at the second position? We shall see, right? He didn't call him Anthony. Will guide us. And he points to someone. Who does he point to? He points to Peter. And Peter's like, no, I fought for you, highest. Remember at the gate? I fought for you. He's like, well, the Raku has chosen you. Everybody will be tried. And he throws Peter on the ground and Peter's shaking. He's in River. It's like, just trust me. Don't worry about it. Just trust me. Right? So put your hand into the pleasure chest and we're going to find out what's going to be your punishment. And he pulls out this pitcher. And what is this? This is going to be a holy water punishment. What is that about? We'll find out in a minute. So we're back at the sheriff's department. And yes, Desiree's like, all right, you ready to go? He's like, F yourself. And she's like, listen, you know how much time you can get for taking out another federal agent? You know what it is, right? Look at me. And she grabs his face. You know what it is. Stop playing with me. Wow. This is crazy. So River is about to punish Peter by putting his head into this water, right? Once he puts his head in this water, this is supposed to be holy water to cleanse him. And he puts his face into the water. He's like, confess that you were trying to escape the campus. Confess. And he's put his head in for a little bit. And he's like, oh, and he pulls him right out. He's like, confess. And he's looking like he's going through it, but he's really not going through. He's putting his head up. Here comes the highest, and he pulls River off of Peter. He says, you know what? It's not right. You're trying to fool me. And Liz, look, your girl just looking on. He's like, this is how you do it. This is how you put him through the test. He's like, no, I would never fool you. I would never do that. Looks like he's about to really be drowned, right? He's like, no, I would never do that. That's how you do it. Don't try to fool me and make it look like you're trying to punish him. This is how you really do it, right? So we already know River was not trying to drown him. But yes, here we are. The highest takes him out of the water and says, you know what? If he survives, then he is strong enough to fight for us. Now we have to test you because you tried to fool me. He was like, no, your highest, no. He says, get on your knees, right? Get on your knees and look at Ruth just looking on like, oh my God, this is crazy. What's happening here? Now, back in the infirmary, your girl Joan wakes up. She's like, the trial, because she heard the bells as well. Alex is assuring her that nothing's going to happen to her. Nothing's going to happen to Joan because she knows all about the money. And she told River that, you know what, she knows about it and that she has leverage on him. And Joan is like, you're so stupid. Why would you do that? Here comes your boy, scumbag Manny, and he says it's time to go to trial. Yes, River called her name to go to trial. So he carries her to the pavilion because she is too weak, right? She's too weak because she lost a lot of blood. And now Joan is on trial. River gave up. Joan, here goes Ruth, and she's like, I'm sorry, Joan. I'm sorry, Joan. And then she runs off and she bolts off somewhere. Where is Ruth going? Are you running? Yeah, you're running because if she confesses, then yeah, Ruth is going to be implicated within that confession. So yes, your girl Ruth runs off. And now Joan is on this table. Man, why is River doing this? Meanwhile, the kids are looking for that rat. There is a rat roaming around the campus. Here comes Ruth. She is running up on your girl Ruby, right? Her daughter Ruby. She's like, listen, Callie, it's time to go. She's shaking. She's like, my name is not Callie. My name is Ruby. And why? What do we need to go? What are we talking about? You're my daughter. No, I'm not your daughter. I'm the daughter of the Raku. I'm like, man, she is totally brainwashed, man. Obadiah did a number on Callie. She's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. This is paradise. What are you doing? Meanwhile, Mariah and James, they get a drone. They get this little drone. So the idea is to get a little drone. They can't use the helicopters, but they can get a little drone into the campus to record everything that's going on. Of course, James, he's like, listen, you're going to pay for my lawyer. She's like, don't worry about it. We're going to get a Pulitzer Prize. We're going to get in there and we're going to win this prize. She just wants to get this Pulitzer Prize and get awarded for getting in there. So back on campus, we see Sister Alex, and she is begging River to not do this, to let Joan go because she is too weak. But River insists and says everyone is going to be tried and tested because we have to see who is strong enough to defend the Raku, defend the campus. And yes, he pulls out this taser. And here we are about to tase Joan. River admits, he says, listen, everybody knows this is my sister, but she needs to be tried as well. So he tases Joan and says, confess that you were trying to escape. Confess. And he is tasing Joan. This is just wrong, River. This is just wrong, man. And she is just gyrating on the table. She is just going off. This is crazy. And your boy River's like, tell me the passcodes. And she's like, F you. So basically, she didn't tell him anything. She said no to the password in the infirmary. And she's saying no now as well. So yes, he continues to tase her. She is going back and forth. This is crazy. The highest looks back to say, hey, Ruth, you see this? Right? In pleasure. And she is gone. She is out of here. River, you are going through it right now. Yeah, you're definitely going through it. So Ruth tells Callie that the highest's son is telling her that she must go with her. And then it's time to go. She tells the other kids, listen, I'm just going to take Ruby for a second. She is trying to get out of there. She's asking them why she's shaking. And here comes Obadiah. He says, what? You're going to do what you're about to do? And he tells Ruby, go back to work. Go find that rat. And yeah, like, Ruth, what are you doing here, right? Real menacing, real evil, like, what are you doing here? What are you about to do? She's like, I was going to take Ruby. And he's like, what? You're going to do what? I don't think you're going to do that. You're going to do what? Tell me now. Tell me what's going on. I'm going to take Ruby and the other children to the pavilion so they can see the trial and see firsthand what it's like to be tried and everything else like that, right? So she makes up a lie on the spot, and man, this is crazy. So back at the pavilion, Alex is begging, please, can you stop? Like, Joan, she has had enough. And the highest says everybody is going to be tried. They have to find out who's strong enough. And your boy River continues to tase Joan. River, you're going to pay for this, man. One way or another, you're going to pay for this. Alex can't even look. She looks away. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And yes, she continues to get tased by River because he wants those passcodes to the money. I mean, comes Obadiah, Ruth, and the children, and they roll up. And, it's looking like, what are you doing here? Like, what's going on? Why is Ruth here? And he says, I think we found the rat. And he looks at Ruth and then turns back to the highest. Now back at the sheriff's department, they go back and forth a lot on this, which is great. And she says, okay, are you ready to play ball? Because this time, you already know, you could face charges, you could face this, you could face that. It's time to play ball. Are you ready? We got your son too. We wouldn't want you to be behind a plexiglass, only seeing your son this way. So you could do time. We could get the time reduced, but are you ready to play ball? He says, yes. He calls Kyle. Kyle runs in there. He's like, yeah, you ready? He's like, yeah, we're ready. So Andrew is going to help Desiree and Kyle get the highest. We'll see how this goes, but he looks like he's still down with the Raku a little bit. That's what it seems like, and that's why he's having a hard time. So now, here we are. Obadiah has the children, and yes, they are tasing her. And Ruth, like, where'd you go? She's like, oh, I went to get the children to see the trial firsthand, right? To see what's going on, right? So they're standing there, and Obadiah says, yes, I believe we have found the rat, sir. And he's talking to the highest. Meanwhile, Lacey is holding her face because she can't believe what they did to Joan. This is crazy while she's injured. So he calls over the children that has found the rat. Who is it? Olivia has found the rat. She is literally holding this rat by the tail. So he's like, oh, this is great. He's like, all right. And River calls Alex to be up for the trial. And he says, you know what? Don't go into the chest. Give the child a weapon. And Obadiah's looking on like, yeah, it's time for the children to prove that they are ready to face the enemy, right? So everybody's looking on, and Haas is like, yes, pass the test. Anthony, he has passed the test, ready to defend the Raku. Let's see if the children are ready. So, yes, River calls Alex to be tried. And Alex is like, no, this is crazy. No, how could you do this? I didn't do anything wrong. And now she's being called up. And you know why River's calling up, because she tried to frame River to get her child and get the money as well. And she's like, I can't believe this. I didn't do anything. I've been in the infirmary. I've been helping out. She's like, well, everybody will be tried, right? It will be tried. So this is wild. So instead of going to the chest, Ahaya says, you know what? Give the child a strap. Yes, we're going to see and test to see if the children are ready. The highest, he is sick, super sick. So he says, give the child a strap and we're going to find out. Meanwhile, Obadiah is like, okay, training these children for this very moment right here. So he tells the boy Manny to pull out a strap and put it on the table. And Ruth is like, listen, highest, come on. Like, let's think about this. Let's think about this. And she's like, we already did. You already brought the children here. And this is the true test. The children would never waver. When adults have a hard time, the children will never waver from the Raku, and they're going to lead the way into the future. Meanwhile, Alex is scared out of her mind. This is crazy, right? So here we are. We got the drone going. Mariah and James, they got the drone going, and now it is going into the campus, and they see exactly what's going on with Joan on the table, and they say, oh, is that a strap? Yes, right. Manny puts down a strap in front of Olivia. This is wild. And they tell Olivia to take out Alex. What? Have her daughter take out her own mother on the campus. This is wild. She is reaching forward slowly. And she's like, baby girl, it's Mama Bear. Trying to snap her out of this Raku trance that she's in. And Liv is looking at her mom, all evil-like. And she's reaching for the strap. Like she's to get it. This is crazy. It's going back and forth, family. What is going to happen? And Obadiah says, I'm sorry, your highest. You were right. The children are not ready. And he grabs the strap and points it at Alex. What is going to happen next? This is crazy. She's looking down. Will Obadiah take out Alex right there on the spot, or will Olivia rescue her mother? We shall see in the next episode of Tyler Perry's Ruthless.